Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to a new episode of Social Confoes. I'm your host, Diego, together with my co host, Sean Luke. Sean Luke, how are you doing today, my friend?
Um, a little tired, a little tired. But aside from that, I'm excited as always, but
All right.
not necessarily for today's topic though. So that's something that we'll get into when we announce the topic. But before we
All
do,
right. Before we get into the topic, as always, we have some plugs we need to do. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, subscribe at youtube.com/. At Confoes. That's at Confoes. We're also on Instagram at Confoes.
and you've
And
added something else,
subscribe
just
to
for
our
the people that are
newsletter,
watching it. Yeah, Confoes.
confoes.substack.com.
And it's
And if
interesting
you go
because one of our
there
guests,
and
Blue,
hold on,
actually
oh yeah,
shared. Yeah,
you'll get this landing page. So subscribe here, drop in your email, and you'll get some more update. It says launched 5 months ago. That's probably when I made the account. So ignore that, but just type in your email and subscribe. So we did a test launch. I actually emailed or messaged Blue like, did you get my invitation email as collaboration just to publish his episode? And basically, this is the new landing page. And
it looks
I'm
really
considering
nice.
I've migrated the hosting to Substack completely because I really like the options they feature. There are some limitations, but I don't think it's enough to deter. The pros outweigh the cons. And yeah, it looks great. And yeah, I shared this with Blue
It
and he
looks
shared it as
neat,
well.
man. So what I wanted to know, when somebody plays it on Substack, is it playing the Spotify, or is it playing local on the locals Substack server?
It plays within Substack, but this is already submitted to so Spotify and Apple Podcasts pull from here.
Okay,
So it plays everywhere. It's just hosted here. And if you play it
okay.
live directly here, you can just listen here. I like that they have the built-in speed feature, listening on if you want to download it. And as always, subscribe. Here's some key takeaways we had with Blue. If you don't want to go through the whole conversation and if you maybe want to look at it before you think, oh, is it worth my time? Well, Blue's got a lot to share, and I bet he has much more to share than we just put here in the description. So check that out.
Oh, it
With
looks
that being
very smooth,
said,
man. It looks
coming
very
back to
smooth.
today's episode, what are we doing
Yeah.
today?
So today we're talking a little bit differently, and we're talking about investing in money and investing in yourself. And some comments coming in from Rewell saying GRE, here we come though. I think
So it's gonna
GRE,
be the
if
SCE, the social. Wait,
no,
am I
I
saying it
think
correct?
if you look at podcasts from, especially from our region and from where we're from, I think the Dave podcast is has much more similarities to GRE. Also
Oh
the
yeah,
fact
for
that
sure.
also the fact that he has a background with fighting and knows all the big fighters in Suriname, but also his level of confidence as well. And we're a two-host show, so probably it's gonna go a different direction. But today's topic is a pretty interesting one because and actually Plu, who we just mentioned, who was a guest a couple of weeks ago. Um, here's what the interesting thing is, because Plu and I are talking about investment at the moment, a lot about investing and understanding the difference between scams and get rich quick schemes and tests towards newer platforms, so out of the traditional platforms. And it has made me think a little bit. Also, somebody who I also want to get on this podcast, Raul Brahim, he talked some sense into me this weekend about what's really important in life and what we really need to focus on. And that led me to the discussion, when we talk about investing, are we talking about investing in ourselves, or are we talking about investing in money? Because those two aren't really similar. I do want your first take on this.
So we have investing in yourself versus money, and I throw something into the mix as well, like into the future, because you invest in yourself for a better future. And there's different ways to do that. And usually people are attracted to the money part. And I already see a comment in the chat. We're gonna mention that in a
Yeah.
bit, but to answer John Luke's question, money is we've talked about money before. We have a dedicated episode on money, like what is money, the
Yeah.
fundamental understandings of money. And I think there we discuss, it's a tool, and eventually the tool is what you use to facilitate your knowledge, your well-being, your health, and combining that into your total wealth. And that's the total investment. So investing in yourself, I would consider the highest priority, because if you know what you can do, if you can work, if you can plan, if you can, get by, you technically don't need money if you go back to the root of humans, of anthropology, of, how we came to be. Money is just a tool created to trade, make trade easier. So I think that answers the question. Hopefully, like investing in yourself should be the priority for everyone. What road you take to do that, that's
Yeah, but
initially up to you.
when you invest in money, you also invest in yourself, but you don't necessarily have to invest in money to invest in yourself. Could we
Right.
summarize it in that way?
Yeah,
So
that,
so
that that would
when
be one way to look at it.
okay, so when we talk about investing in money, because I gave a take on this, I put a post
Wait,
out on.
then
Yeah. Okay, you
before we bring
wanna?
out the comment,
Okay.
yeah, when you say investing in money, can you define, or just investing in yourself? Can you define the word investing? Like,
So
what does
investing
investing mean to you?
basically is putting resources into something. I'm
Putting
just
resources
gonna
into
leave it at that.
something,
I'm gonna
right?
Yes. So investing is whether you put money, whether put your time, you put your effort into something. That's basically investing. So if you invest in money, the most logical reason why you would invest in money is because you will most likely get a return of investment from it. So if you invest in money, you will most likely get financial gain, or you're doing it at least to get monetary or financial gain. So that's the short version of it. And then from an investing in yourself perspective, it's putting effort into improving yourself each day, or not even each day because that's very specific, but investing in yourself would be investing time and effort into developing yourself to make yourself a better human being. And we can discuss on what's making yourself a better human being, but that's the premise if you
Yeah.
want to
So the
explore.
return there. So as you said, it's putting resources into something with the expectation of having a positive outcome, right?
Well, an
Or
outcome, a
should
positive
I?
in general, you would think
Okay.
that if you would put
In
something effort
brackets,
into it,
hopefully positive, but an outcome.
but what is a negative outcome?
In, you maybe invest. If you're talking about money, negative outcome would be you're negative. You lose everything,
Yeah.
what you
So
put
I
into
think
it. If you're
that's the
talking about
biggest.
in yourself, maybe you put resources into training really hard, and you suddenly get an injury. That would be a negative outcome because you overtrain.
Yeah, depending on how you look
Yeah.
at it, like you get a life lesson out of it. So I think that's for me the biggest difference between investing in yourself and investing in money is with investing in money. If it goes wrong, from a financial perspective, you lose. Whereas with investing in yourself, if it goes wrong, you've learned a valuable lesson. And hopefully you learn from that lesson, but at least you can turn that
You could also
experience into
argue
a
if you lose
positive.
the money, there's a lesson in that as well.
Definitely, but when you're talking investing in money, you learn a lesson. That's great, but at the end of the day, you're looking for financial gain, and if you lose so much that you can no longer financially gain, or you get a bad credit, or you have loans, outstanding loans, and you can no longer pay them back,
So
it's
I
really
want to throw
different.
I want to throw this back at you because I think you mentioned this a few episodes way back. So, would you consider that investing or gambling?
Yeah, that's an interesting statement. But even with gambling, is you can make an argument that gambling is some sort of investment, but then you have to realize what kind of investment it is. Gambling isn't a money investment. So I think that's what I differ. For me, if and I almost wanted to put it in a post, but I don't want it to steer away from the conversation the post was going into. But basically,
You
I also
can,
wanted to say like so. I also wanted to say like if you catch me in a casino gambling and having fun on a Saturday night once in 3 months, because I go to the casino between 4 and 10 times a year.
hmm,
Um,
fun fact.
I for me it's just entertainment. Like I can now honestly say it's entertainment and it's not an addiction because I know what it was when it was an addiction.
Okay,
And
gotcha. So,
yeah,
going into that, you mentioned a post. For the people listening, could you elaborate a bit on what post you're referring to?
okay.
And yeah,
So recently there was a big discussion on a multi-level multi sorry, there was a discussion on a multi-level marketing platform that kind of it 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 went bust. And it was a specific one, but it was very clearly tied to another MLM that's currently still going. And I think one of the earliest episodes of Social Confoes, we actually discussed the dangers of MLMs. We singled out a couple of MLMs that went really viral in Suriname, and also which steered a lot of people away from crypto because people thought that those MLMs were kind of like uh, the same as Bitcoin, which they were not. So I think that's also one of the things. But what I ended up doing is putting like a couple of guidelines in for people who are new to the space, saying like, hey, first of all, uh, don't use money that you can't lose. And this is one where everybody's like, yeah, but everybody says that. And that's the whole thing. People, and especially scams, use that line, don't spend money that you can't lose, because it's the main principle of investing. You invest money that you have on the side. You don't invest money that you need to pay your bills and those kind of things. And I
yeah,
think
basically
that's where the
covering their bases,
similarities
right?
to
Yeah.
gambling are growing. But I'll get back to that. So that was the first point. The second point was just think about the things you want to invest in and invest in things that you care about, because then it's no longer about the money. So for instance, with the NFTs, I have a couple of NFTs that I'm like, why did I get into them? Like seriously, why did I even buy these NFTs? Because clearly I'm not interested in them. Whereas I have some other NFTs that they haven't made me any money, but I can just say, hey, I have an original Tom Brady NFT, like where he set the record for most yards thrown in an NFL career. I own that NFT. There are only like this many of them, and I own one of them. Like
You guys
I'm proud.
definitely see your expression there. You know, that a smile when you
Yeah,
say
it's a
that. Yeah.
smile.
Like,
Even if it's worth $50 right now, I don't care because for me it's worth 500. So it doesn't matter. Secondly, I have a LeBron James rookie NFT, which I bought for I think 10 times the amount that it goes for now. I don't mind it. I really don't mind it. I have Tisha Panachero. Probably most of you don't know who that is. If people ask me, "Do you watch the NBA?" I say, "Yeah, I watched it when Tisha was playing." And so there are some NFTs that I'm really proud of. My favorite sporters. I didn't get into the Binance Ronaldo one because I'm just like I'm done for now. But the NBA NFTs, the NBA Top Shot NFTs, even if they have lost value at the moment, it doesn't matter to me as much as other
Yeah, they
NFTs
lost monetary value, right?
because they lost monetary
Yeah.
value, but I'm still excited. You can hear in my voice that I'm still excited about them. So I think that's also something for investing. If you invest something, don't buy, because it used to be like paintings, right? Paintings was a really big thing. If you buy a
It
painting,
still is. It's just
JC has a
in
line.
certain.
JC has a line in one of his songs where he basically said, "I bought these paintings for my children, and it was worth this, and now it's worth this, and now it's going to be worth that." And even there, I do feel like he thoroughly thought about the one that he wanted to buy. He wasn't like somebody telling him, "Hey, this one is going to move that much because the artist this and that." No, you buy it because, well, you can buy it if it's because of the artist, because you actually like the artist. So I think that takes into consideration as well. Um, but I think that was my second point. The third point was as soon as people start going and like, yeah, this is gonna be an awesome project. And also, if you bring in invite others to join, you will earn more or you will get a higher rank. That's kind of a red flag. As soon as that comes in, that's kind of it goes towards the MLMs for me. And I also had somebody like never do it when I was talking about only do it when you do it for fun. But I'm trying to explain that only do it if you really enjoy it and have general interest in it. That just goes for investing in general. And then you get to the red flags. The red flags are you have to bring other people in to earn more. That's already a
Mhm.
major red flag. I think another one is yes, you have these ranks and you can be a platinum member if you do this, and you can be a diamond member if you do that. And that's also usually a red flag.
And one of the main counter
Yeah.
arguments to the one you just mentioned, like
Yeah.
recruiting people, was them mentioning like, "Oh, you don't need anybody underneath you." And yes, we're talking about Wisham
No, we're not
in
only
this set of
talking
terms.
about
No,
for
but
that one.
in this
But it's
example
interest. This one is
specifically,
interesting. This
yeah,
one is interesting. You know why it's interesting? Because I very rarely come across an MLM, international, proclaimed international website, where 32% of the traffic is actually from Suriname. That's insane.
what is that data? 2%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw that data, right?
yeah,
I think it was
yeah.
Suriname, Belgium,
And
and
Macedonia.
Macedonia
And
were the top.
Macedonia is, I mean, I've seen Facebook pages with extremely high reach on Macedonia because I think either it's click farming or Macedonians, much like Surinamese people, love to be engaged with things with pages. So it could be
Like the
both things. I don't know for sure.
similarities
Yeah, there
between the
might be some
countries.
similarities there. Yeah. And I think it's interesting that one of those red flags are always there. Yeah, you should invite. You can usually see it when you invite more people, and if you invite somebody else, you go to a higher rank, and you earn more as well. And see, I've encountered when I was in my 20s, I encountered two of these. One was Alufera. There was also a very big Alufera multi-level marketing scheme going on
Yeah,
for
there you
here.
had an actual product, right?
Yeah,
You know,
you had a product. At least you had a product. Um, and
the coffee thing was
no,
also
that I was already out when that came. I was already out of those kind of. I never even did the Alufera one because I thought it was a little bit too much work to get other people to commit to the same thing. I just bought a package of 20 euros and I looked at it and I was like, I'm not going to use this product. So probably the people that I'm going to sell it to
yeah.
are also not going to use it. So I'm out. I just took my loss after the first purchase and I was like, I'm out of this because I don't really believe in this. But others made a lot of money with it. But eventually it became clear that you can no longer invite people and then it becomes difficult. Um, and then another one was, I think was a website, Neobox. And I don't necessarily think that one was, I don't look at all of them like scams, but that was just clicking for pennies, basically, right? You kind of click ads and you get paid because they
Yeah,
sell
that
the ads to view. It's
yeah,
just like you
that's
have
click
someone
farming. And
click
the
farming,
return is
basically.
basically proportional to the effort put into it most of the time
Yeah, and if you have a
in that
very big
sense.
click farm with a lot of people clicking, you make a lot of money. And for them,
Mm.
sometimes, I mean, I would even compare it to crypto faucets, right?
Yeah.
Like I used to go to Doge faucets and get a little bit of Doge every time.
But it's
And
not like, you open the faucet and a full stream. It's literally
no,
one
it's
drop
just it's
every
just a
day.
couple of cents every day, a couple
Yeah.
of cents every day, couple of cents every day. And those kind of things you realize at a certain point. Some people stop doing it because it's like $2 to $5 a month, and it's like, yo, seriously, I need to do something better with my life. But if people do that, I mean, there are people who get referrals from that. I've gotten referrals from faucets from, but it's not like, it's basically free money. So can you blame them? But the problem that I have with MLMs compared to faucets is that with a faucet, you don't invest anything. You just
No.
get it, right?
You invest your
You
time and
invest your time,
your
and as
energy.
soon
to-
and your energy, and as soon as you realize that if you invest your time and energy in something else and you earn more, you're out.
Yeah.
Whereas with the MLMs, you invest actual money to buy or purchase a package. And as soon as the purchase package comes in, for me, it's as well like, come on, are we being serious right now? Do we really need need that kind of and then it's a combination of purchasing a package and also going with a package above your actual budget because you want to get rich quick and you realize if I put more money in, and that's and then you
That's
do
the bait,
get
right?
then you
That's
do
the
get
bait.
then you do get to the similarities of gambling, because in a casino it's kind of the same thing. Like, if you play the lowest level on a machine in Suriname, on certain machines, you can hit the major jackpot, but all the smaller jackpots you cannot hit because they're turned gray because you're not betting enough. And then there's a certain limit, and if you play above that limit, all the jackpots are turned on. But what people that don't know how casinos work don't realize is that when you play at those levels, the mechanics of the machine change. So there isn't, you
Yeah,
have to
it's
understand,
basically game theory. So
yeah,
your chances of winning are winning big or
always less than
bigger
50%.
because yeah,
Yeah.
because
So,
the amount is insignificant
yeah,
for the casino compared to the big jackpot. So they give you that dopamine spike of winning, like, oh, one more time, one more time. Oh, let's double it, let's triple it, let's
and
10x
that's
the
when you
amount,
lose money,
and
right?
then
That's when
then
you lose
they
money.
rug it.
So for me, the best way to explain it is like, if a combined five people have lost $2,000 on a machine, and you come there and you play for $1 and you win $25, you are up $25. So you go home happy and like, hey, I made $25. But before you, five different people lost $2,000. So that's how the casino works. The highest chance of getting to 50% win rate is blackjack in a casino. That's it. Blackjack has the highest percentage win rate. And even if you study blackjack and you know on how to count cards, you can up your chances to maybe 60, 70%, which is why it's forbidden to count cards at black on a blackjack table in a casino. Blackjack is basically the only game where you can actually beat the system. And that's why it's
Okay,
illegal to beat the system by counting cards.
quick side track on that, and then we'll go back into the list you had. Because we're talking about a casino here, we're talking about slot machines, card games, roulettes.
Yeah.
Poker is also something within a casino. Do you consider poker gambling?
Yeah, poker. Well, it depends. If you go out to a casino to play three card Monte, to play Caribbean stud poker, if you go to and you play against the casino, you're gambling. You're gambling. If you play Texas Hold'em against other players where the casino facilitates it, it's seen as a sport because you're competing your skill level against other players, because you're playing against other players, and when you play against other players it becomes a skill level to be better than other players, and then it
It's a
can be considered a
competition, right?
sport, then it's a
Yeah.
competition. But if you go to the casino and play um, any card game against the casino, you're gambling. So there's a very thin line between those two. And the last thing I want to say for me personally, because I've been in situations where I've been addicted to gambling, uh, is that I learned, I think when I stopped gambling, echt, like when I stopped gambling, like seriously, like really gambling, is I once lost close to a month, not a year, a month of salary. So when I first lost like a month's worth of salary in a casino,
Ooh,
that's when I was like, no, I'm not doing this again. If I'm gonna come back here, it's gonna be for fun. It's gonna be money that I
you
can
put a
afford to
limit.
lose. I just put a limit. For people to understand, I've been to Vegas and I came back with money. So I went to Vegas. I set out a budget. This is the amount that I'm willing to spend on this trip. And I actually came back from Vegas with still money left, not going over the limit. And I'm honest enough to announce that I was actually up $100 over my limit. And I was stupid enough to play the slot machine on the airport, which you should never do. Like, don't even think. Like, you think like, oh, that's what everybody thinks. Like, hey, I'm going away. I have this money left. Just play it on a machine.
Eh,
But no,
goodbye.
it's just a tourist trap. Just money gone. So
No,
from that perspective, yeah,
I remember I went on a tour in Vegas, and on the bus tour, I think there's a local as well. And they explained to me, like, if you go in the center, the chances of winning are ridiculously low. But if you go to the casinos on the outskirts, the more local casinos,
yes,
you have a higher odd of winning.
yes.
It's just embedded in that system.
So
So
we went to a casino
not
that
all
had
casinos are equal.
no. I planned the trip to look what casinos had the lowest slots, like the lowest amount you were able to play, and that's where we played. I stayed away from tables as much as possible. Of course, there's some casinos that give you some cash to play tables, so we did try that, but played like a couple of hands and jumped out as soon as it got a little too scary. But again, I go to the casinos like 4 to 10 times a year for entertainment purposes. It's
Okay.
really entertainment purposes. And I think that's the difference that people also need to understand, that I'm just there for fun. I know I don't I go alone sometimes for some reason, but I prefer going there with a friend and just having a fun time, having a discussion, because then it's worth more than just paying the
Yeah,
slots or
it's
just
an
playing a table. I
experience
used to
and
play
enjoying
tables as
yourself.
well. Yeah, but I used to play tables as well, but they up the antes to roulette, for instance. Used to have one SRD in Suriname. They at the Mirage, I think they had one SRD roulette tables. That was fun. You know, you could just put 100 SRD and you could play for maybe 2 hours with that. And now, I think the minimum buy-in is is 10 or 20 times that. So then the fun it goes away from me. So I think that's the biggest difference between gambling. For gambling, if you go to a casino, you have to understand. Same with sports betting. Like, yes, there are people that make a career out of sports betting, and that's one of the points that I mentioned. But those people spent 40 to 60 hours studying the odds, studying the best options, and even they have their weekdays that they
Yeah.
don't win. But there are professional sports bettors, but they dedicate it's their full-time job, and you just wonder,
And the professionals just play the statistics, the
yeah.
odds.
And what you're going to see now is that those kind of professionals, if they have a YouTube channel and they just talk about the sports and give insights to the sports, they probably earn more of the YouTube channel and
Yeah.
sponsorships than they would earn from actually betting money. So I think that's, for me, the most important part is, if you really love something and you're gonna invest 40 to 60 to maybe even 80 hours a week into something, there are different ways to monetize. It's not just investing or gambling money.
So reeling back the conversation on the list you are going through, the next point I think was, shifting from the investing part in a casino or in a MLM program or a Ponzi scheme, whatever, and instead investing it in learning a skill. And I think you had some comments on that one as well, some reactions on that as well. So your example of that YouTube
Yeah,
channel, that's actually a skill that you eventually can develop editing a video and get your return in alternative ways through commission jobs, through advertising, through
yeah.
merchandise, through affiliate marketing even. And that's where the fine line is, right?
Yeah. If you, I mean, if you're great at sales, like not every local shop will do it, but if you're great at sales, like you're thinking like, hey, I can tell people. And I wanted to also differentiate between MLMs and affiliate marketing, because if you're doing affiliate marketing and you have like affiliate link for Amazon and you have something, say you really are into books and you do book reviews and you leave an Amazon affiliate link to below in your book review for people to go to Amazon to actually buy the book that you're talking about, you can earn money with that as well. But it requires a skill, and the learning curve is often kind of hard. And that's where people fall. And I think it was Tamiro who said like, hey, listen, but okay, so how would you for entrepreneurs? And I think one of the things I always mention is try to sell something 100 times first, right? Build up a skill that you're able, and find something that you're invested enough that you're willing to sell it 100 times. And selling it 100 times means probably trying between 3 and 4 thousand times to sell, and then hopefully sell 100, and then go back to the people, try to reach out to the people that you sold it to, maybe 3 months after you sold it to them, and it's like, hey, how was it? And that's, of course, most of us, we never do that. Big companies don't do that either. We just sell, 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 sell. And then you don't get the feedback of like, hey, I didn't enjoy this experience, or it was actually good. And then you ask them like, hey, it was good, but did you refer anyone? And they were like, oh, I never thought about that. Let me refer somebody for you, right? We never ask people that have a positive experience with a product or a service that they bought from us to say like, hey, send it to somebody else, because we don't know why they don't do it, and
Yeah,
sometimes it's we
that
don't reach out to
that
them to
little
do it.
follow up can give a big push to people
That give
because they
can
just
give a
don't think
big
about it.
then that
Yeah,
can give a very big push, and sometimes we automate it, but then it doesn't feel personal anymore. So that's also the experience that you have. I've always looked at websites like Amazon and ball.com, which is the Dutch, kind of a Dutch version of Amazon. um, and they always send these follow-up emails, like you purchase something, you get a mail like a month afterwards like, hey, you purchased this item, maybe you're
yeah,
also interested in this and this. And
but
I'm
that's
like,
coming from the main corporation. If it's like this little individual on Etsy, like, oh, you
i
brought my
always i
hand
always
painted.
wonder what the conversion rates on those emails is. I always wonder, and what's respected, like if the marketeer behind it goes into it and says like, hey, this is 0.5%, 0.05%, it should really be 0.06%. I need to up it. Why? Like this month.
Yeah,
So I'm
and
really
and
interested in
that's
that.
levels to that conversion. Yeah, you have the click through conversion, and then you have the conversion to actually go through with another purchase or an
Yeah,
actual referral. So there are
yeah,
stages to that because
yeah.
at the end, the true conversion is the next purchase.
And I think that's really interesting. One of the things I also mentioned is improving your skills, like constantly improving your skills every day. If you have a skill that you're invested in, you're pretty good at it, invest in that skill every day, right? You want to invest in that skill every day, because here's the interesting thing. So there are a lot of, and even in Suriname, there are a lot of content creators, Surinamese young professionals who know a lot about social media channels. But even in the US, even in the rest of the world, there are a lot of young professionals who are really good in their craft, but they don't know how to monetize their craft. So what ends up happening often, companies that are a little bit more looking towards what the trends are, they will hire those people, because if you're able to grow a YouTube page to 10,000 subscribers, or a TikTok account to 10,000 followers, for instance, there are companies that need your skill set. You just have to be realistic about it. And I think that's one of the things that influencers often don't understand, and companies don't understand either. There are influencers who have a bigger following online than companies have. And the companies don't acknowledge that. The companies don't realize, like, hey, this person on that platform actually has more followers than I have. Does this person, so this person is actually more well known than I am on that platform. Companies just don't realize it, they don't grasp it. But then from the other side, what influencers often don't grasp is those companies have been around for 40 years. So if you've been around for 2 years and a company has been around for 40 years, that company knows better how to survive than you do
Mhm.
in a business landscape. So you have to be the company has to respect the influencer, but the influencer also has to respect the company.
Yeah, it's a risk mitigation. It's going to be a business decision in the end. And you also need to take into account like the standard you're setting, because usually what gets into the limelight are the influencers or the people that have millions. Whereas, as you mentioned, 10,000 is already a huge achievement. And people underestimate that. If we're talking about, your, I think, what was it? If you have 100 or 1,000 true fans, that's enough to propel your scale your business to where you don't need anything else technically. So 10,000 is a moonshot already, and that's something to understand.
It's
But
great. And just to give an example, last week we had Josine Wille on, who was like from international standards. Like if you would say like 1 million followers, she's not that big on her socials compared to others, but she is in such a niche that she can easily ask much more for her sponsorships and partnerships with brands than
the
people who
conversion
have.
and click through
Yeah,
is
because she has an actual
more
following.
effective. Yeah.
Yeah, she has an actual following of people that are really not just like, oh, she's cool, but oh, she understands me. She's able to advise me. So people are more willing to listen to her because her community is much more tight knit. And I think she mentioned that as well, to like focus on providing the community. Even now, if she's saying like, hey, I want to do things that are more me, there's still a certain focus towards the community. And um, that's also something that companies have to look at. Like, am I a match? I'm actually working on a strategic document now that talks about brand fit. And I think Mike Alton, who we also had on as a guest here, also mentioned it in that episode of the podcast. And he's actually the person that I learned it from, to say, like, there has to be a brand fit between you and a brand that you want to work together. Because if you work with a competing brand just for the money, you're not going to get invited to your favorite brand to work together because you've already worked with a competitor. Like,
Yeah,
there are rare
the
instances that
clash and
happens,
the commitment
but
and the conflict.
yeah, if you're really into a brand, if you really love the brand and a competitor approaches you, don't just take the gig for the money, because basically you slam the door shut to work with your favorite brand for at least the next 10 years. And I think we don't always understand that. I mean, the big influencers understand that. The big influencers have their own brands. But when you're still building and you're still growing, it's important. It's, for me, it's really hard nowadays to actually do partnerships. Um, I usually
I,
stay
I
on the background because,
I
yeah, dude, it's
I
difficult.
can
I
see
can't.
where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Like even when brainstorming for this show, if we're gonna go do partners and thinking about this, do potential, the partners that have the resources and the capabilities, do they align with what you are trying to do? And then the clash is like, not really. And then the people that may have don't have the resources, and then you need to think of something creative to maybe work it out. um, but yeah, so
so
diverting this conversation back to the last thing I want to mention from the list or the post you posted is, the one of the comments was, you get in early, you cash out, you're able to do that, and then no harm done. But then there is still harm done, but you don't see it, or you're not a first order consequence of it.
you're not fully aware of what's happening.
Yeah,
It's almost like, in some sense, it's almost like politics.
yeah,
You get
and
promised the moon, but you can't deliver the moon. That's the problem. You just can't deliver the moon because it's impossible. It's a planet. It's outside of Earth. That's how far away it is. But still, people get promised the moon. And
And if we're talking about the return on investing, maybe yeah, you have gotten out your monetary gain, but you might have lost something else that's not quantified in finances or money, and that might
I
be
had a discussion about this.
reputation.
Yeah, I had a discussion about it with one of the early crypto adapters in Suriname. Uh, he actually was in one coin at the time you were still able to cash out.
Hmm.
So he didn't lose. He maybe has even he lost, but he didn't lose the amounts that like other people
Yeah,
lost, right?
he got out pretty
He
much okay.
yeah, he got out okay. And he said like, hey, listen, it brought me into crypto. From one coin, I went into other real cryptos and I started to understand it better. And for me, if it wasn't for one coin, I would have never gotten into crypto. And he also makes the argument that, that he was able to get out fine. And I was told him like, hey, but listen, what about the maybe hundreds of people that you brought into this thing and spend their life savings into this? How much do you feel accountability for that? And that's really the thing that we don't talk about, because it's like, okay, am I fine? But then 5 years from now, you're walking on the street and somebody's looking at you and you brought me into this. And even I even feel the same way with Hive. Luckily, there isn't anybody who
Yeah.
went into Hive and was like, hey, yeah, and look at it. No, most people just lose their password or their keys. That's the one problem that I have with it. But it isn't like, you know, and it could even an ecosystem like Hive could completely disrupt or could be completely disrupted. And that's the same with companies. That companies, in some
But
cases, you
that
invested a
goes
lot
back to
in a company.
the core, right? What you said, don't invest anything you're
Yeah,
not willing to lose. And if
yeah,
you convince them to put their life saving into it, that's a fine line. So the first thing would have been,
yeah.
what are you capable of risking
And don't think
if
you're
you're
the
going that
smartest.
that direction?
Yeah, but also don't think you're the smartest person in the room. Just don't think you're the smartest person in the room, because even the so-called smartest people, and of course we laugh at them in the sense that we were already like something fishy is going on. But it's interesting how many prominent companies and organizations jumped into FTX, right?
Mm.
So there shouldn't be like, I am better than you are in this. No, like, we're all struggling. We're all trying to find ways to become financially independent, or at least, so it makes no sense to kick somebody down when they're down. So that's why I don't want to talk about a specific multi-level marketing scheme, because the people who are down and lost their money, they're already down and lost their money. There's no reason to say like, hey, you're stupid, I saw it a long time ago. There's no reason to do that. The only thing that you want to do is like, hey, did you realize that there were red flags, and how did you handle
Yeah.
those red flags?
I
That's
was
basically
out
it.
of town this weekend and this topic basically came up, and uh, we just talked about it, and I just mentioned this,
Yeah.
the things you basically listed, and like, what does it look like? If it smells like some of that, and if it looks like that, if you're still going into
Yeah.
it, all right,
Yeah.
we've had the discussion. Okay, you're
There's a
fine.
Dutch saying, if there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah,
Right?
and the other thing, I have a friend group who I meet every now and then, pretty much, the crypto degenerate friend group, and I think it was about 4 weeks ago, last month, and the current MLM Ponzi that crashed yesterday or today was brought into light, and they were talking about, yeah, give it another week or so, because they are in these circles, and they see the timelines going on, and literally by the end of the month, 2 3 weeks later, it was pretty close to what we discussed back then, like when the ticking time bomb exploded. But what else can you do, aside from trying to get people aware? And yeah.
No, I'm just thinking like, you wanna. I think the learning you take from this, if you're looking at it from invest in myself perspective, is like, what can you learn out of those situations? And I'm very careful, because To be honest, I'm quite happy where I am when it comes to my portfolio, my crypto portfolio. But on the other hand, I haven't lost, but compared to where it was during the last bull run,
Yeah,
I'm
it stings. It
it's
might
thing.
sting, but
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt me as much because I know what my initial investment was, and I'm like I'm with a casino. There's a certain amount that I'm willing to invest. With crypto, with stocks, it's the same thing.
mm.
Like,
Like I remember the first stock I got into was on recommendation of a friend because it's kind of a real estate dividend stock, and I didn't know much back then. I think it's my biggest loss so far, and I keep it. I haven't realized that loss. I keep it there as a constant reminder, like you know, this
but you
happened.
also have to invest it.
It's like a badge of honor.
Yeah, but you also have to invest it and be in. So, like for instance, there's an NFT that I have that you recommended to me, right? And I paid a good of. I think it's my most expensive NFT, still
Yeah.
to this day. It's my most expensive NFT, but I'm keeping it there as because I do believe in the project, and I do believe the project's gonna be worth something for me along the way. I've just not used it. And the interesting part, the special values that the NFT have align with my personal interest.
Mm.
So that's also makes it like I still to this day I'm thinking of printing it out into a phone case to have it as print the NFT design as my phone case because I think it would look cool like that. So I'm not really concerned with it at the moment. But it's not
No,
like, hey, I
yeah,
invested and this is worth
you
so
should be
much now.
concerned with it at all. Like,
Yeah,
not even at the moment, even in the
yeah,
future, if nothing happens, because
yeah.
it's already something you've kind of put aside from your regular.
And the reason I like it so much, and this is the one thing that I want to say about collectibles in general, I like digital collectibles. And the reason why I like digital collectibles a lot is because the wear and tear of physical collectibles. There's a wear and tear on physical collectibles. So
Yeah,
you
that's
really
why
have
they
to,
PC grading stuff and put
yeah,
it in special cases,
yeah,
and then it's being graded by professionals, which is
yeah.
also
And then you buy it for the value to protect it as an asset. Whereas my collectibles is just like I have it. And then with digital collectibles, I don't have to worry about like is it still in A tier shape or A tier quality. I don't have to worry about it because I'm not even hosting it. So I think that's the benefit definitely
but
of
also a
owning
drawback, right?
collectibles.
Because a lot of the monetary value for the pristine condition physical collectibles comes from it's 30
Yeah.
years ago, yet it is still in pristine shape. That is
Yeah,
why.
sorry, but I'm not like that. I'm just straight up. I have like one of my favorite collectibles is a shirt from the Suri Profs, which has like a signed jersey from people that they weren't eligible to play for Suriname, but they did play in charity matches, and they all signed a shirt. And a lot of those people became really prominent football players in Europe, and some of them even won the youth European World, no, the European Championship, the Youth European Championship back, I think, 15 years ago. And I have that as a collectible. But if I look at it from the state that the jersey is in, I wore that jersey, right? You're not supposed to wear the jersey with the autographs on. You're not supposed to do
Well,
that. And yeah,
who
I did
says
that.
that?
No, but so for me, it's worth way much more for me. And people are like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, I want to buy it. I want to buy it." I'm like, "Listen, I'm not gonna sell it because from a value, it has value for me. It doesn't. Of course, it has value for you, and you're looking at it and you see it as very valuable. But like, if you're gonna purchase it just to sell it and make it even worth more, it's not because the shape the jersey is in is not that great. So you're not gonna get the true value of what it's
you
worth.
don't know. That's the thing. You don't
Yeah,
know.
but it's still it's gonna be. I
It,
don't know.
it
There are
it's
only
something that won't sit well with you.
no, and also there are only two of those shirts, so that makes it really rare. There are only two of those shirts, so that makes it really rare. I have no idea where the other shirt is.
Okay, to close us off, Gregory asks, when Lambo, my question to you, Gregory, is, are you gonna
Why
drive that
Lambo?
Lambo?
Who Lambo?
Same thing with cars, that's the life that's being sold to you. And it has become a meme at this point where you think like, okay, you get the Lambo. It's basically a signal, a status signal that you're
No,
trying
the
to do, but you
only
don't need it.
reason, the only reason why I would own a Lambo is if I won it on a YouTube channel. Like if there's a Mr. Beast competition, and
Mr.
for
Beast
some
came to
reason,
you, hey, here you
yeah, and
go.
for some reason I would be able to win that competition, I would have a Lambo, and I probably would sell it the day after that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
the answer
mean,
to your question.
yeah, you can't even drive that thing here,
Exactly.
right? And then when you
Uh,
have, well,
and the
there
risk
are. I
of
have
it.
to say there are some nice Lambos here. I mean, there's the Ursus, right, which is a sports SUV Lamborghini. So there's
Yeah,
one
probably,
here.
but
But like
how often are you gonna drive?
really low
The,
hang, no. Here, no, never. Terrible idea. Terrible. Yeah, and vanity. It's really, I
exactly.
really don't care about. The only vanity that I care about is my colleague whose name's Vanity. I don't care about vanity metrics or stats or vanity collectibles or those kind of things. So that's not something I would ever
But
consider.
that's also, in digital collectibles in video game example, a lot of the skins are vanity items, just to make
Yes,
you feel better. And
I've been
and that's
looking
how
at
you get it. The same logic applies in the digital as in the physical world.
I've
So
been
yeah, you
looking
are
at
about to
those,
mention to
and
close us off.
yeah, I've been looking at those, and I'm like, yeah, not my cup of tea. And then again, you get to the part like, invest in stuff you like. Invest in stuff that gets you excited about things. I mean, that's the best advice I really can give you.
The
Because
two
even,
things
yeah,
the two things I would say as we close this episode, as you know, not per se advice, but a way to think about it. Investing shouldn't be about making as much money as possible. It should be about not losing money. If you're talking about investing in money,
yeah,
and it should be boring. If it's exciting, don't do it.
interesting, interesting. So a lot of people will never actually invest because they don't like boredom. All right, Diego, we're gonna close it out. As a reminder for those who don't know yet, Social Confoes is now available on YouTube at youtube.com/confoes, on Instagram at IG Confoes. And yes, we're on threads. We're not doing anything with threads, but it's there. But more importantly, the episodes are now uploaded to confoes.substack.com. And the interface is really nice. So go and check it out. And we'll see you back here next week. Same place, same time. Bye bye.